Welcome back. That was a song from Hair called Air. Very appropriate, I think, for today. I'm speaking with David Johnston. He's the founder and president of What's Working, and he's an award-winning green pioneer. So, very interesting, David, about our homes and the effect on our health. And talk to me about phthalates, because, I know that they're in... they're plasticizers. They're in the hard plastics. They're in perfumes. They're in makeup. But where are they showing up in our homes?
Well, we have to kind of look at phthalates as a counterpart to polyvinyl chloride. And PVC is literally everywhere. And when we have that beach ball smell or that new car smell, that is an indicator that we have vinyl chloride, which is the active ingredient. It's the monomer in PVC, polyvinyl chloride. And phthalates have been introduced into this organic mix to make things like shower curtains, baby toys, IV bottles in a hospital, surgical tubing. I mean, so many things in our world, and especially in our babies' worlds that are soft plastic. Phthalates are what, as you say, are a plasticizer that make them pliable. But our cars, every time we roll up the windows on a hot summer day, leave our cars in a parking lot, we see this film that starts to cover the inside of the windshield. Well, right. That's what the off-gassing of vinyl chloride and phthalates do to our lungs as well.
That's interesting because, that film is so impossible to get off because I have a fairly new car, and it was kind of shocking to me because I was using all kinds of cleaners, and the only thing that took it off was vinegar.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know vinegar worked on it.
It totally works. It's the only thing that works, and I told, the car dealer the same thing because it's troubling. Aside from the fact that you can't get it off and it's kind of, obstructing your view, it's troubling that this is what's coming off of, you're saying, coming off of the upholstery and the plastics, and it's also getting into our lungs. So that's disturbing.
Well, it's absorbed, and especially by women. Women are more susceptible to absorbing phthalates, and yet, and this is the interesting thing, because I train builders all over the country all the time, and builders are kind of macho guys. We've been out there using this stuff for years, and we're still here to tell.
Right.
And I ask, well, how many of you guys are expecting to have sons in the next few years? And, often they're young guys. It's a young man's sport. They raise their hands. And I say, well, indoor air quality, I know you don't believe that it's a problem. I know you don't think that this is an issue with particle board and the other products that we use. But what's happening with phthalates is they get into a mother's bloodstream. It affects the male maturation process. And if you want grandkids, you want to get phthalates out of your life because boys' sexual organs don't develop fully, or they develop problems at a very early age, sometimes in infants. And that's a direct result now. And the Europeans are about ready to ban phthalates altogether. California has banned phthalates in children's toys, and there are many variations on the phthalate chemical structure. And that gets builders' attention. When it starts to affect their kids and their grandsons, because every guy wants a grandson.
Sure, that's a good point.
It gets their attention. But we need to be aware of this, and this needs, especially in California, where there's the initiative to start getting this out of our world. It's one of those chemicals that the precautionary principle says if there's even the potential of it causing harm, especially in children, make the manufacturers prove that it's safe, and they have not done that.
Right. Yeah. So do you have some solutions for us? I mean, I teach people how to, pay attention to their personal care products, and I know phthalates are not listed on the label, but if they're used in fragrances, for example, so if things are highly fragranced, deodorant, shampoo, so I tell them to stay away from it because it could affect their hormones. What should people be looking for in their homes to avoid the coming in contact with that? I mean, aside from their
Well,
overheating their cars, right?
Yeah, it starts with soft plastic. So anything, and our nose is an incredibly sensitive diagnostic tool. So if it smells like a beach ball or it smells like a cheap shower curtain, do not buy it. And again, this is very much the case. The least expensive products tend to be the most toxic, and you really find that in furniture from, we probably shouldn't name retailers' names, but from big box stores for the most part. Now, let me put in a caveat, and this goes for formaldehyde as well, and that's that IKEA, being a Swedish chain, all of these chemicals have been illegal in the Nordic countries, Scandinavia, for 20 to 30 years. And the Swedes did the very first indoor air quality assessment, realizing that we had problems because they made their houses so tight, they're so cold, they realized that indoor air quality was becoming a problem, and this was in the 80s. So IKEA is a very different source for a lot of these products. So if you want to put new kitchen cabinets in, look at IKEA first. If you want to look at rugs for your house, look at IKEA first. They have taken away, and they will tell you that this is phthalate-free, this is formaldehyde-free, and so forth.
Right. It's a great store, and don't go there on a Saturday because it's really crowded. The lines are unbelievable. But, I'm wondering whether people are aware that it's safe or just that it's inexpensive,
Well, typically not. And, we in America are not very cognizant of what the rest of the world is doing around many of these issues. And yet the Europeans, I was just on a Scandinavian speaking tour this last summer, and the Scandinavians look at us as though we're totally nuts as a country. And they say, you are the only developed country in the world that consciously and intentionally poisons its citizens.
Wow.
And I thought that was such a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Coming from, this is from builders and architects and the Danish Housing Research Institute and so forth. We're not allowed. Our building industry is so powerful, even though we're not building much these days. Congress does not step on the toes of the building industry. And they have fought indoor air quality for decades. In fact, the first EPA study on the impacts of formaldehyde on children was literally sequestered by Congress because the building industry fought it, and Congress capitulated and made the EPA shelve the study that in 1990 would have told us a lot of these things about health in kids and formaldehyde.
Now, you started, you were one of the co-founders of Build It Green here in California, and but very few contractors, I think, know about it, or really, like you were saying, unless they realize that it's going to affect their grandkids, they really don't care. I mean, my contractor smoked cigarettes, and he seemed clueless. This is years ago, but I'm hoping there's a move towards more awareness. Do you think there is?
Oh, absolutely, in a profound way, and again, primarily in California, although in states all the way up the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, Vancouver, there's much more awareness. What we have is difficult channels of communication. So Build It Green has done a phenomenal job. I've done trainings there and trained well over 1,000 builders myself in California, builders, remodelers, architects, and so forth, building professionals. And the Build It Green program is one of the most stringent when it comes to health and safety issues. The National Association of Home Builders does not consider indoor air quality a green building issue. So it's really not in their checklist or their program except mold-related issues. And that's a whole nother topic that we could dive into. The organic side, we're really talking about the synthetic side of indoor air quality here.
Right. We have to save that for another show, but because I know mold is a very extensive topic, and we only have a couple more minutes left. Yep. So, but I do want to ask you, if people are thinking about doing some green remodeling, what would be some first good steps to take?
Well, number one is you want to make sure that the remodeler is certified and certified green building. green building professional from Build It Green is your best certification. LEED certification doesn't get you the same degree of information, especially on this topic. Two is it doesn't necessarily cost that much more to be careful. In other words, if you're paying attention just the way you would at a grocery store when you're reading the list of ingredients on a label, a good green builder, a good interior designer, a good architect is going to be familiar with those products that have been vetted either by the state of California. There's a program called the 1350 program, which is protecting the safety of kids in schools and the materials that are brought into schools. So is it 1350 certified? There's a whole list of products on the air quality, the California Air Resource Board, CARB website, that will list specific types of products and specific manufacturers that meet or do not meet the 1350 standard.
David, we've got like 20 seconds left. Is there a third tip or
the third tip is make sure that you do your homework and just don't assume that if you buy it at Home Depot, it's going to be healthy and appropriate for your family.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for all that great information. And we've been talking to David Johnston. He's the founder and president of What's Working. You can find him at what'sworking.com. Thank you so much for listening today. We got some great information, and if you are going to, look at going green, make sure you find someone who's certified, like David said, Build It Green, and keep your windows open and use natural products, cleaning products to clean your home. See you here next week. We have a great show coming up, and I'm Beth Greer. And remember, have a supernatural life.